Test. Testing 1, 2.
Okay, so am I. Rick, you're good because I can hear myself. All right, we're going to call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, April 1st, 2024. No April Fool's joke. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call, Amanda.
Jeff Belkey.
Here.
Tracy Coach. Here. Bill LeClaire.
Here.
Darla LeClaire.
Here.
Tim Petrie.
Here.
Bonnie Shimalunas. Here. Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Wahusky.
Here. Everyone is here and present. No need to go into number 4. So we're going to go to number 5, which is input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on something that's on this agenda or something you'd like to see for a future agenda, please step up to the podium. My right, your left. State your name and address for the record. Input from the public. All right, seeing none, we will move on to number 6, council communications. Any communications from residents that any council members would like to share, whether it's a phone call, in person, email, Facebook message, who knows?
Or an actual letter.
Or an actual letter. We don't see those all the
No,
time.
I think Bonnie has gotten one, Darla's got one, I got one, I think Tim has got one.
Okay,
I
you
don't
want
know
to
who
go
else.
ahead and just,
Yeah, I'll just briefly say it's from someone, we don't know who, but it's
Okay.
to all council members about spending an inordinate amount of time on sidewalk good advertising. Obviously, this person is not for it. And I won't get into a lot of details because
you don't even know if it's from a resident.
Exactly.
Frankly.
Exactly. So,
Got
yeah, I think just a bunch of us got this in the mail and letter received.
Sure. Darla.
I received a letter as well today. It's different than the ones that you guys got. And it basically, first of all, these are all anonymous letters. They were done on computers, so they're typed out. There's no return address. You have no idea who the sender is. But this was deliberately attacking a resident of Two Rivers with a lot of information that I'm not even going to try and verify. It was very personal.
Okay, so I
Okay.
got that one a couple months
Did
ago.
you? Okay,
I
so
know
all
what you're
I,
talking about.
all I can
Got it.
say is that we want to
Don't
hear
even-
from the public, but I'll tell you what, have the guts
Yep.
to put your name on it.
Got that.
So it was upsetting when I got that today and I was shocked. So,
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
receive that one a couple months ago. I did share it with Greg too, because mine was a little bit even more elaborate than that and a couple pages long,
oh my gosh.
with the same content on the back end of
Okay.
it. So yes, I think that letter's been going around by someone that's not happy with the sidewalk signs and or person, which has nothing to really do with an ordinance that we do for the entire city, not just for one person. Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else? Jeff?
Yeah, I got a couple here. Got an email from a gentleman wondering about in the terrace, when we're taking down the trees, the ones that are bad, are they going to be replaced? And if so, when, or are we going to wait on certain times to do this? Mike will have to address that one.
Pretty much as resources are available, but
Looks like Mike Mathis, Parks and Rec Director, who also takes care of our forestry department for the city, will address that.
Yeah, so we have our tree planting budget that comes from stormwater and an environmental fee, is that right?
just environmental.
Just
fee.
environmental fee. So we had $17,000 for that budget this year. That entire budget is gonna go towards replanting trees on Lincoln Street this year. So, yeah, that's a pretty limited budget for us to do much else outside of that. Now, in years past, we've received donations and like scrounged up some trees throughout the year from other sources. At this point, based on our urban forestry management plan that was written last year by a forester, really the priority is getting rid of dead and dangerous trees and trying to ease our way into caring for new trees because they can be very intensive to care for. So yes, hope for that we, next year and subsequent years, we get more money to be able to do that. We did receive urban forestry grants this year and last year. A lot of that money is going towards pruning and removals. So if we continue that trend of getting those types of grants, hopefully we'll be phasing into more planting funds. So.
And aren't we talking tonight too about a
Yeah,
grant
you're gonna-
that's specific to the south side of town?
You're going to hear
Type of-
about 2 other initiatives tonight about planting a lot of trees, hopefully. So, yeah, they're coming. It's just we got to scrounge it up from all different types of sources, basically.
Mike, pass that on.
Mike, you want to elaborate on what kind of trees to protect the sidewalks from bulging and stuff?
Well, yeah, so we need to stick very closely to our planting policies. And so one thing we've been learning from the forester who did the inventories, we have very small terraces through a lot of town. And usually the minimum size of a terrace that we want to plant a tree in is 4 feet wide. So there's a lot of terraces that are smaller than that. And we also have a lot of overhead utilities. So we've just, I know that as I've been learning the forestry role, trying to be as strict as I can about planting the right size trees in those terraces. So DNR gives a recommended list of trees for large, medium, and small terraces. So like Lincoln Street, it's pretty darn small terrace. They're right about 4 feet wide. And there's overhead utilities on one half of Lincoln Street. So we're going with things like hawthorns, lilacs, crab apples, a few other kind of small species for those types of, for those terraces. So trying to stick very closely to that kind of planting strategy is important. There's a lot of maples, big maples and terraces that are probably too small for maples around town. So.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Then I have got several comments about access to and from Abundant Life. And I approached Greg on that, and everybody, the access is going to be okay. You just have to come in off of Hawthorne. There'll be signage on, I believe, 12th Street.
Yes, and I've got a couple slides on it in my report. You know, timing isn't always perfect. The Roosevelt Street reconstruction contract was awarded. Normally we say hooray when the contractor gets started right away. That does mean that Roosevelt Street, while it's mostly signed for local traffic only or no through traffic, is drivable. I drove it today. You don't want to drive it from about 12th Street for a block south because there's utility work being done there. But Roosevelt is generally accessible. We have signage in place as of late this afternoon and a graded graveled surface from Hawthorne crossing Roosevelt to the Roosevelt driveway of the church. That's a polling place. And that's sufficient for 2 cars to meet. We would also remind people that that church location, Abundant Life Church, is accessible off Memorial Drive southbound. Unfortunately, there's not a median cut there, but it's accessible. You can get in southbound and you can exit southbound as well. So we'd just ask people to be patient tomorrow. There is signage that says voting with an arrow that's meant to especially get the attention of people that might be southbound and normally would just at 12th Street hit Roosevelt southbound because that isn't happening. Thank you for being on top of that. And thanks to Public Works as best we can. People know their way around it. It is at Abundant Life Church and polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And also while I was at the fire department's fish boil, I talked to several people and they said that what a fantastic job the fire department did for the fish boil. There was a good turnout. I spent a lot of time there while I was there and talked to quite a few people and everybody was very, very happy. So shout out from myself and the community for a job well done.
Yeah, they do a tremendous job with that every year. And a lot of the money that they raise for that actually goes back out into the community to support various functions and help different groups and different situations that the fire department does through their union, I believe, correct? Yep. Yep, so 100% of that money goes back into the community via the union fire department there. So yeah, hats off to you, your guys that do a terrific job with that every year. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Anybody else? I had one. I just sent it off to Brian, Darla, and Greg. It was about a streetlight in an alley. So you should both be getting that on your inbox. Something about maybe too much light or unnecessary, but take a look at it at the next meeting. Maybe stop out there, take a look, see for yourself to see what you think of it. And just so you know that I did bring it up to the person that did address that with me. It did get sent off to the appropriate people. So, all right, on to number 7, which is council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have anything they'd like to report on from their respective bill?
We had a meeting today at the senior center and we got some numbers from the senior center. The number of members is up to 1,048, which is a record number. And considering in 2019, there was only 700 people
Oh.
as members, so it's quite a lot of people there. Last month, we gave 350 trust car rides, which is a record. And they delivered 1,523 meals. And for the year, they had 89 meals served at the senior center. And
You say 89 meals?
89 at the senior center.
Or what period of
Congregate
time?
Meals, the group people, the group.
Okay. Is that like a per day?
No. That's,
Just 89 meals the whole year?
well, 89
Not people.
cafeteria style meals.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be,
89 different meals?
yeah, 89 different meals, and that's for the congregate lunches, so it's probably, that's probably only like a 1 month number.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Got it.
well, year to date, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the congregate meals, it's part of the meal program, but they come in and they eat and gather with people to do it.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
So they're in the Costco room. The Costco room's filled up.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. April 10th is volunteer banquet at Mahoots. Senior Center's 70th anniversary party is going to be August 7th at Central Park West. They're going to start having a mobile dental hygienist, and she's going to accept Medicaid starting April 26th. And there's also going to be Energy Assistance Intake Day starting April 18th. And they are looking for kitchen help, truck car drivers, and Friday morning bingo callers. So that's what I got from the senior center.
Hey, do it. I volunteered.
I think that'd be kind of
I'm-
fun,
I'm a-
actually.
I'm gonna be
That
a
might be
weekly
kinda fun.
volunteer.
B6. I like it.
Before.
Before. Yeah. Do that before.
On.
Yes, right.
You know?
Yes. Yes. Don't
Hold the cards.
Don't discard those. You never know. Some people are wrong. Jeff.
Personnel finance, we finished up the city's goals and objectives, so we should be getting that out, made public here in the next few weeks.
Yes, and we're meeting again this week, Thursday, to
Yeah.
hopefully wrap up the update of that,
Yeah.
to present back to council.
Okay.
8 a.m. Thursday.
We'll see you there. Anybody else? Yes? Darla, Tracy, anyone?
Oh, okay.
No, I don't.
Negative? Darla?
For EAB, just to let you guys know that this week, April 4th at 6, in the Beringer Room, we're going to have our second to the last program in our winter series. It's going to be on curbing carbon emissions. It is going to be featuring WPPI Energy President and CEO Mike Peters. We're really lucky to have him because he was also on Governor Evers' task force for climate change. So we've got somebody who's got a background in this. And Greg, I probably just stole your thunder, but I know it's in your city manager's report, but I really highly recommend this program for people to come out and hear what he's got to say because it's such a hot topic right now and it's very important. And we'll be getting the information from someone who is really well versed and educated in this. And then in May, that's going to be our last one, and that's going to be on the new world of recycling because things have changed over the years. As far as Main Street, we got everything ready to go. We're just waiting for the next couple of months to tick by so we can actually start doing our projects. And really, it's the same with EAB too, with the things that we want to do. It's we're in a holding pattern until we have good weather. So.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? Did you have something, Tracy? Okay, it looked like you were raising your hand there for a second. Okay.
I was pointing.
Oh, you're pointing, okay. Well, I know that we always end with Darla. She's always got a lot. That's good. That's good. That's what we do. We report on our committees. I had a meeting for the ad hoc pool committee. We started going through the strategic goals, the timeline of those, and volunteers for some of our specific goals. We are going to meet again on Thursday, not Wednesday. So we will be Thursday right up here in council chambers, 6 o'clock, if anyone wants to tune into that. I think we got a total of 7 meetings left, right? Something like that. I think it's 7 that we're gonna kind of go through this pretty quick, get our options, get a bunch of feedback, hopefully from other municipalities as we move forward with some kind of a direction for city council. All right, Craig, your report.
Yeah, one
Oh,
thing.
I'm sorry, Scott.
You said tuned in? It's not broadcast, is it?
No, but they
Okay.
they can come in
They can
here
come in
live.
here,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Not that anyone's confused.
Nope.
Thank you.
Your mic on?
Oh, how are we now? Okay, we opened this report, nice cover photo of Two Rivers Lake, Michigan shoreline from Robert Olson. In the way of staffing updates, our finance director recruitment is ongoing. We have 2 interviews scheduled in the next 2 weeks here. We have the full-time position of recreation clerk. Applications close April 8 on that position. Recreation coordinator is a part-time position. Applications on that closed as of today. And we also have completed the process for filling the meter tech position. And Brian Delman, our electric utility director, will be introducing that new employee 2 weeks from tonight at the meeting on April 15. Would like to invite Chief Meinert up at this point for a brief update on the continued search and investigation for Elijah Vu.
Good evening. I don't have a whole lot other than what I've already released to the news. We did have some past farmland searches and also the very large-scale drone search. I can kind of just tell you how that came about. Obviously, that was something we intended on doing. It's a unique way where we can cover a lot of ground and we can really spot some amazing stuff. I don't know if anybody was by Hope Church or saw some of the news with all the drones and the RVs and just the extensive amount of equipment, but I would estimate there were a couple $1 million worth of equipment just out there at Hope Church, up to 70 teams. And really they covered an extreme area. I think when we figured it out, it was something along the lines of about 15 square miles of property. So that was just those drone teams. And then that also included almost my entire staff out there basically running out and investigating everything that they were finding on those drones. So it's very impressive. It worked a great deal for us. So I was impressed. I would anticipate maybe having another one of those because there are still a lot of areas that we have left to cover. With the upcoming better weather, you'll see us out and about in different unique ways. So look forward to that. I will put out those releases when information does become available. You're probably seeing a lot less media releases, but be assured we are still doing everything we can to try to locate Elijah. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Jen, again, just a note, tomorrow's spring election and presidential preference primary. The polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sorry about that, p.m. The 8 wards vote at 2 locations as noted, wards 1 through 5 at St. Peter the Fisherman Parish Center on Mishcot Road, wards 6 through 8 at Abundant Life Church, 1969 Roosevelt Avenue, also accessible from Memorial Drive. You have the map there that shows in yellow the wards that vote at the St. Peter the Fisherman Parish Center with that location noted, and likewise those that vote at Abundant Life Church. As Councilmember Dahlke raised earlier, access to Abundant Life, the church polling place remains available via Roosevelt Street, but Roosevelt Street is now under construction. Probably 2/3 of it is without pavement, the northerly 2/3. There is access directly off Roosevelt or from 12th Street via Hawthorne. That'll take you directly to a point directly across from the church driveway on Roosevelt, and there is room for 2-way traffic in and out of that driveway. I would also point out, though, if you prefer to avoid any gravel surface streets and steer clear of the construction area, the church driveway accessible off Memorial Drive southbound is also an option to get into the church parking lot. That note repeats on the next page, and that just shows you some of the signage that was in place late this afternoon. The one at the top is for directing traffic to the left onto Hawthorne off 12th Street westbound. And then signage to direct you along the block. And yeah, those are compacted asphalt tailings or millings that are filling the gap there to get you across Roosevelt. The April 2nd ballot, among other things, does include the election of 3 city council members. They are as listed on the sample ballot: Doug Brandt, Andrew Quackenbush, Shannon Derby, Jeff Dahlke, Mark Bittner. There's also the opportunity for write-in votes as well. If you're curious, I know it's getting late, but if you're curious to see what the complete ballot looks like, including the county board race for your address, you can go to myvote.wi.gov and look at a full ballot if you want to look at that in advance of voting tomorrow. Just a historic marker, April 2024, according to some sources, 2025, I found today, according to one other source, does mark, we think, 100 years since Two Rivers voted to adopt council manager government. Just thought that was worth noting. Voters approved a ballot proposal in a municipal election. Again, we understand in April of 1924, about 1,080 to 799. There was an advisory referendum on form of government in 2001. That came as a result of a petition drive to put a ballot issue on the ballot. That petition was ruled invalid by the state, but the council at that time did proceed to ask voters in an advisory referendum if they wish to retain the current form of government. And the voters responded yes by about a 2-to-1 margin, as noted there. And there have been a total of 12 city managers in that 100-year period for council manager government here in Two Rivers. Probably the most famous was a guy named John Deaver, who served here, I think in the 1960s into the 70s. He retired as city manager in Long Beach, California, and was president of the International City and County Management Association. Very well respected in his field. Had him once. As is noted in a handout in front of you, you've got a two-sided handout on the opportunity grant program being offered by Explore Two Rivers. This is with city room tax dollars. The Explore Two Rivers Opportunity Grant Program acknowledges the pivotal role of Two Rivers arts, cultural, nature, and heritage venues in driving tourism, and does make monies available to local organizations if they can make a case that they're creating a new activity or expanding an existing event or activity that leads to overnight stays and other economic impact in Two Rivers. So this is, I think, a real positive coming out of the Room Tax Commission and more significantly out of Explore Two Rivers, Inc. So making some of that room tax money available. Grants will range from $500 to $5,000. I think there's a commitment to one $5,000 grant per year, at least in this first year. And I would add that that could also include sports events as well. So both existing events and new things that add to what Two Rivers has to offer to visitors and that contribute room stays. Would note that April 15 marks the end of the annual shut-off moratorium for city electric utility. Likewise applies to the gas company. Help is available for folks that might be behind on their utility bills. We encourage you to seek that help through energy assistance in advance of the shut-off, which will start shortly after April 15. And that annual moratorium, which runs November 1 to April 15, does prohibit utility providers from disconnecting residential heating services. So basically electric or gas for non-payment. Any penalties or interest also are held in abeyance during that period. As of late last week anyway, delinquent electric accounts totaled about 420,000 as we come to the end of the moratorium. That amount usually drops significantly when we hit this time of year. And that's, I think, fairly typical in recent years for what that dollar amount is. We'd like to remind folks that the pilot program for front yard produce gardens continues through 2024. You can contact the Public Works Department or City Engineer's Office at the number indicated there, 793-5539, to register for that pilot program. So by the looks of the weather outside, we're getting the word out sufficiently early this year. A couple of things that Mike Mathis spoke to briefly as it relates to trees. Actually, Mike, you want to come up and speak to both the survey that folks can participate in and then the biochar related grant?
Yeah, we had a nice opportunity come up last year where I got connected with the Lake Michigan Bird Observatory. So we were a part of a grant application that LMBO was the acronym, submitted to the Daybreak Fund, which is a bunch of different foundations and the fund for Lake Michigan. We'd actually considered an application for it at one point as well. But they received funding for a number of Lake Michigan coastal towns to improve, really they're working on behalf of birds, of course. So they are giving us $10,000 from that grant to plant street trees. Those trees must be planted in a disadvantaged community, probably as defined as DNR is what I think. So that would be the south side of Two Rivers. So we will have $10,000 just extra dollars next year to be able to plant trees on the south side. Interesting piece to that is it's sort of a research study in that we're going to be using something called biochar. So when we dig the holes for the trees, we're going to supplement the soil with biochar, and it's essentially burned organic material from trees or brush. What they told me they really like is honeysuckle and buckthorn, which are both invasive species. So they burn that down. It actually helps retain water, slow release nutrients, and it actually sequesters carbon by the way that they do the burning. So it doesn't release a ton of CO2 during the burning process. It gets stored in the ground with the tree that's growing above it. So hopefully that'll give us a nice start to those trees when they're planted. We do have difficulty on rebuilt roads that often the soil on the terraces is very poor. It can be very gravelly. So this will be a nice way for us to figure out ways to supplement that soil and make it better for trees as we do those plantings this next year. So yeah, they will also be training us on how to do the biochar burning. You have to get a kiln, which is actually a pretty cheap piece of equipment in the grand scheme of things. So if someday we want to go that way of making our own, we could possibly do that. The Nature Center is also participating, and I know they cut a lot of buckthorn and honeysuckle. So hopefully we can work together with them someday. So with that partnership with LMBO, they have a survey going right now. They want to get information about what are the barriers for people to plant native plants, support bird and pollinator habitats in their personal yards and in their personal life. What types of things are they interested in? Very much along the lines of the front yard gardening and things like that. But they're trying to develop strategies to make things work for people. So if you go complete that survey, you can receive a free gift, and you're welcome to take whatever gift you want. But I will nudge you and suggest that you take the 3 free oak saplings. So if you take that survey, it is, I'll admit, I give a lot of surveys, but this one isn't mine. I didn't write this one. This is take a little bit of time to do the survey, and there's kind of a catch. You got to transfer over to their website to get the free gift. When you do that, we'd prefer you to select bur oak and swamp white oak and use the pickup location of Algoma. So we will go as the Parks Department and go pick up those trees all at once for people. But notify me that you are doing the survey and got through and got it done so that I know what all trees I need to pick up when we go pick them up. So yeah, we're playing the game a little bit to get extra trees. So Jared and I, our Parks Maintenance Supervisor, today we're theorizing if we get a lot of trees, that we might go to a gravel bed kind of nursery kind of setup, like a local tree nursery would use, so that we could keep those trees together for watering and growth, get them to a bigger size, and possibly plant in terraces. Most of these I envision being used within parks, probably within Neshota, and maybe around the cemetery property as well.
So the $10,000 grant, since it is targeted by census tract to the south side, our big push on replacing trees or planting new trees after a street reconstruction next year will be Roosevelt. So that along with the other application Mike is working on that you previously approved a resolution for, to the extent those could take care of Roosevelt, that could free up tree money for all over the place.
Did you say bur oak and what?
Bur oak and swamp oak, as I
Swamp
recall.
white? Okay.
And I don't know if there's a Parks and Rec Facebook post on this out yet, but I'm sure there will be, and we'll share it broadly. So, good,
Craig, why
good
don't we
stuff.
have a bid line item for tree replacement in a new construction?
We could, quite honest, this is gonna sound a little sarcastic. I've found, I won't talk sarcastically. I've found that street construction firms, planting trees isn't their forte. And usually we're finishing up so late, no matter how early we start, we're out there in November waiting for it to be top dressed and finished up. And you probably are just as well waiting till the following spring. We could try it, but I guess the biggest example I'd give you, when we built Mariners Trail, there was a pretty big state grant for plantings in tandem with that. And we were lucky if the roots were down and the leaves were up. I mean, that's just kind of my assessment of, there's people that build roads and do utilities and they do that well. They don't necessarily have a skill set when it comes to planting trees. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Question?
Yep. Now, whether we should be building that budget for the replacement plantings into those street projects, and we talked about that last year, but we didn't put it in this year.
Right.
That's a fair question, because that would then free up environmental fund tree planting resources for filling the gaps where trees have been removed
Right.
around town. And we've got a
Again.
lot of those gaps.
Yeah, because there's a few that were
Yep.
taken out, so.
All righty. Remind you that World on the Move, the exhibit continues over at Leicester Public Library, including weekly, just about weekly anyway, special speakers regarding different aspects of immigration. Next one is April 15, Dr. Sarah McKinnon. Am I missing one this week?
Yes, you are, Bob Fay, but he's sold out.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, for Wednesday.
I believe it. Bob Fay, local historian, Old Northwest Research, formerly a director of Manitowoc County Historical Society. You missed it, unless you have tickets, sold out. Again, kudos to the library on a great program. The Vanderbro Arboretum and Trees, whoops, and sorry about that. The Vanderbro Arboretum and Bird Sanctuary is having their annual tree, shrub, and plant sale. Here's another case where you can get some appropriate types of plantings for your backyard habitat or your front yard, wherever you want to put them, and benefit an outstanding cause supporting the Arboretum at the same time. And go online to the Vanderbro Arboretum site to order. The order deadline is coming up, and I'm sorry I don't have it there, but I believe it's later in April. Good opportunity to piggyback on their efforts to purchase tree planting stock. Darla mentioned this before, the Environmental Advisory Board Educational Series, Our Land, Our Water, Our Future, Curbing Carbon Emissions, this with Mike Peters, CEO of the city's energy supplier, WPPI Energy. That's Thursday night of this week over in the Behringer Room on the lower level at the Community House. Two Rivers Main Street, current downtown promotion is Fool Around Downtown, and that is from today through Sunday, April 7. I believe you can enter at various downtown businesses for a drawing for Cool City Cash, and there are other promotions going on. Out at Woodland Dunes, you can join astronomer Al by the Sky Shed to view the solar eclipse safely through filtered telescopes. Eclipse on next week, Monday, April 8, begins at 12:54 p.m. And at mid-eclipse at 2:09 in our area, the sun will be about 88% covered by the moon. Feel free to attend, bring a camp chair, and obviously the event is weather dependent. A lot of great things going on at Woodland Dunes during this, their 50th anniversary year. Just as a note, I wanted to point out the city did close today on our 2024 capital projects financing as previously authorized by council. Those monies were wired into the city's accounts, are now available for ongoing capital projects program for 2024. Again, a reminder, we did fairly well on the rate, 3.59% for this 10-year borrowing. Kudos to the Washington House on a great new sign just installed to direct people to that facility. And the synthetic ice has now been removed for the season after what I think we'd all agree is a pretty successful season over at Central Park West. Might be a little while before the splash pad is activated. Oh, we're getting there. Speaking of the weather, even though the winter parking ban is pretty ugly forecast for Wednesday of this week with predictions of anywhere from 5 to 15 inches of snow along the lakeshore. So if at all possible, we just want to encourage people to keep their cars off the street. That overnight or during the day, it just keeps things safer and much more efficient when it comes to snow removal. And let's hope that they got this totally wrong, because it looks like it could be ugly. Finally, we close with one of Phil Rohr's great drone photos that he makes available for the city, and that is my report.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for the good news on the weather.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Consent agenda, it's a short one. Under A, we have a presentation of minutes. There are one, it's a city council regular meeting of March 18th, 2024. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. And under B, minutes of meetings, there are two. It's an environmental advisory board meeting of March 19th, 2024, and the community pool ad hoc committee, March 20th, 2024. Recommended action, a motion to receive and file. The recommended action for the consent agenda as a whole is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for a motion to do just that.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Bonnie. Any council discussion? See none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. On to number 10, which is the city council formal items. We have just 3 of those tonight before we go into closed session. First, under A, it is a right-of-way privilege agreement between the city of Two Rivers and Riverside Seafood Incorporated to allow for placement of private process sewer facilities beneath the Wilson Street right-of-way. Recommended action is a motion to have the city manager and city clerk sign the agreement. And we'll walk into this with Greg.
And then Matt is available as well. As council members are aware, the wastewater staff has been working for a couple of years now with Riverside Foods on issues related to their processed water discharges and some of the impacts of that on the collection system and the treatment plant. Riverside's been very cooperative in this and have come up with a plan for capital investment for some actions that should address this, some investments that should address it. They also don't have a lot of extra space over there with production facilities on both sides of Wilson Street. So what this anticipates is placement of some privately owned, privately installed and maintained process sewer facilities that would be underneath the Wilson Street right-of-way. Now, other than the excavation to put them in, or maybe repair them or take them out in the future, these aren't obstructions to the right-of-way as you view it above ground. But the right-of-way likewise extends below ground, and this does represent a private use of the public right-of-way for that purpose. In Wisconsin, when cities do these things, a lot of the conditions are governed by state law on these so-called privilege agreements. Attorney Bruce can speak to that. Notably, things like taking financial responsibility for claims that might arise out of that use, and a very short termination clause. Doesn't mean the 10 days you see in there is what the city would intend to exercise. Obviously, we've got buildings that have their front course of brick under privilege agreements. And I hope we don't never tell them within 10 days to get all the brick off their facade. But that is what the statute tells us has to be in the agreement. So with that, if you need to know more about the technical end of things, Matt Heckenleibel, our Public Works Director, who's also in charge of the wastewater utility, can address that. As to the legal agreement, I'd defer to Attorney Bruce. But it's just continued cooperation with a great local business that's really grown its local business. And you can't provide great cheese curds to the whole country without having the facilities to do it. And we're glad they're doing it here.
And we talked about this at Plan Commission as well. And Matt, you did note that we will take note and highlight those areas of their private utilities in case that road ever comes under construction. So I know that was a concern there, not because we only mark really our utilities when the time comes, but we don't really want to nick their utilities either when we have to go under construction, if we ever need to construct that road. So those will be highlighted by Department of Public Works. So we are kind of keeping Riverside's underground utilities safe should anything happen. So other than that, I think Plan Commission unanimously approved this. So looking for a motion to do so before we get into discussion.
I'll make a motion to have the city manager and the city clerk sign for the city with
Okay,
this agreement.
we got a motion from Tracy. Do we have a second?
Second that.
Second from Bill. Council discussion.
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
Is that blocking the street off, or is that gonna be under the street?
That is going to be under the street, but we can let Matt elaborate if you wish. But yes, it'll be going underneath.
As Adam mentioned, it will be underground. There will be a few pipes running perpendicular to the road and then a few underneath the westerly sidewalk running parallel underground. So everything is underground.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, it is a privilege agreement. We feel comfortable doing a roll call vote. Amanda?
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas, Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
All right, motion carries. Thank you to the Riverside folks for being here tonight. Should any questions have arisen? On to B, council direction regarding the 2024 budget funding for business facade and sign grants. Recommended action, a motion to authorize the use of funds as specified in the city manager's staff report. Greg.
This is in follow-up to, well, council action on the 2024 budget and also discussion last Monday at the March work session. As noted in my memo that's in your packet, there's a total of $100,000 budgeted for possible assistance to businesses for facade and sign grants. It's in 3 different buckets. 2 of them are TIF districts, one of them TID 8 at the old high school. That anything within half a mile of that TIF district can be eligible for this kind of assistance. That doesn't cover the whole downtown. It only gets you down to the south side of 20th Street, as you saw in the map that accompanied. That's $30,000, and that, because of that TIF and its age, any of those dollars have to be contracted by August 20 of this year. Otherwise, the door closes. There's $50,000 in TID number 13, which centers around the intersection of Washington and 22nd Streets, or actually Washington and 21st. It's a 5-block area. If you take the half-mile radius out from there, oops, that's not the map we gave you, but that pretty much covers the whole downtown area as we know it, from the far side of the Washington Street Bridge, north of 22nd, past Pick and Save, past the Pig. That one is a newer TIF. There's not the restriction to get that money committed. Could be committed any time this year. Then there's $20,000 in Fund 291, the Economic Development Fund. And that's money that has no restrictions on where it's used. It doesn't have to fall within or proximate to any of those TIF districts. I'm proposing, if you look at page 2 of the memo, that we would make $11,000, basically as we have in past years, available to match dollar for dollar facade or sign grants approved by the Two Rivers Main Street Board. That entity has $11,000 in their budget for this year, for 10 of it for facade grants, 1 of it for sign grants. And we would, as in recent years, I'd propose we have Main Street, through their design committee, intake the applications, review and approve the applications. Then the city would be informed of those and we would kick in our share when the monies are dispersed. And those only get dispersed after approval by the full Main Street Board, by the way. Beyond that, and Darla can speak to this as the council's rep to the Main Street Board, I'd like to recommend that $5,000 is available to Main Street from TID 13 as city match on a 50-50 basis for funding any downtown area murals on private properties. So that would allow up to $10,000 spending on murals, but the city would pay no more than half. After those initial 2 allocations, which you see there total $16,000, I'd recommend that anything else that's in the TIDs be subject, would still run through Main Street if they're in the downtown area, but also be subject to approval by the community development director and reported at the next meeting after that to the city council. Just so as city, we keep a handle on what is available and what's been spoken for, if anything, above and beyond what's needed to match Main Street 50/50. Because any of these would be funded fully by the grant, at least would be fully funded by the city. And then finally, the 20,000 that's in Fund 291, not for projects in the downtown area or bid district, that be with intake and processing through the Community Development Office for projects approved by action of the council. An example of that would be a couple of years ago with High Lift Coffee, when the city provided facade assistance. I think it was $10,000, but no need for that to go through Main Street. It's not even in the bid district. So I know that sounds a little complicated, but what I'm suggesting is let's match dollar for dollar what Main Street has in its budget. Let's work with Main Street on the additional dollars that's available downtown, but where the grants would be fully funded from the city. And for the stuff that isn't downtown, leave that through community development as lead and subject to approval by this council.
Okay, so the question was raised also last week, and I think I answered it correctly. The 80,000, there's two different TIDs that contribute to that. You got to be within those TID districts to capitalize on those funds.
Or
The
within
20
half a mile.
Yep, the 20,000 that is in the ECDEV loan, that can be used for businesses throughout the city of Wisconsin. So we're not just taking the downtown district and saying you guys only qualify. We are qualifying pretty much all businesses within the city with that $20,000 that comes out of ECDEV. But that other 80,000, 50 and 30 respectively, you have to be within those boundaries. The boundaries that exist a half mile out, but still I consider that the boundary.
And bear in mind when I talked about, grants that can be fully funded by the city versus the city and Main Street, typically we also are looking to the business to match dollar for dollar, whatever the grant is. Not always, but that's typical.
Darla.
I just wanted to mention too, that in that letter I had referred to earlier, they were asking how much, why are we spending taxpayers' dollars on these things? And we're not, this particular mural that is in the works for this year, that is all a private grant. So it's not coming out of tax dollars. And like you said, the rest of it is going to be coming from these different pots. And so it's not coming from the taxpayers. There's already other mechanisms in place. So I just wanted to make that really, really clear.
Yeah, the TID districts spew out their own tax money within that district. The only thing that would be coming from city taxpayers, essentially the taxpayers throughout the city, would be the ECDEV loan, would be that 20,000
Correct.
there. But some of that also comes in from stuff we rent.
Right. And the ECDEV also, that's the old CDBG loan fund. So to the extent those grants go out, it does somewhat diminish what we have available for loans.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, looking for a motion on this. Thank you, Scott. Seconded by Tracy. Council discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote. Amanda.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky, Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach, Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. On to C. It is consideration of draft 4, yes, draft 4 of the proposed amendment to the city sign code to allow sidewalk decal signs for a trial period. Review and consider setting a public hearing. The recommended action is a motion to set public hearing on the proposed amendment to the city's zoning code for 6 p.m. Monday, April 15th, 2024. Do you want to beat this over the head anymore, Greg?
I just realized that date is an error. That's a holdover from when we had this on the agenda before. So to assure proper notice, that'd be May 6th.
We're doing that, or are we doing it? Was there talk about the work session?
We could do it at the work session and the
Was
work
that,
session.
is that correct, Elizabeth? That I think we did speak a little bit on the work session. I think Elizabeth brought that up as another option to try to keep that within the same time period so that people can do their signs, all their renewals of their signs at the same time.
In which case, again, April's a 5 Monday month. I'd like to do the work session on the 22nd because I'm supposed to be out of town on the 29th, but that should give us time. If the gods of Gannett Media don't screw up the legal ad,
Then,
the
yeah.
22nd should work.
Let's aim for that. So then those people that are renewing their signs currently that they have can do this all at the same time and we can keep it kosher. So we're looking to do that not for April 15th, but for April 22nd. Looking for a motion to set that public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Bill. Council discussion. Yes, Bonnie.
I just wanted the motion repeated. I wasn't.
Oh, I'm
quite
sorry.
sure how it was.
So I'll repeat it anyway. The motion is to set the public hearing on the proposed amendment to the city's zoning code for 6 PM on Monday, April 22nd, 2024. So that will be our work session. We will have a public hearing for that. So that motion was by Jeff and then seconded by Bill. Scott.
Did we ever get the results from Jason Ring's survey?
We kind of dropped it because there was no interest in hearing what the result would be, so we didn't pursue it.
Thank you. Just curious if that ever.
Yeah.
Mr. President, if I might, to
Yes.
the draft that's in front of council, the only change from 2 weeks ago is the deletion of the liability insurance requirement, and that was council's direction. You might want, though, before acting, this was a handout tonight. Attorney Bruce had also prepared this one pager that's in front of you that is meant to bring other types of signs that extend over the right-of-way or use the right-of-way into conformity.
Right, it was my understanding that the council wanted to see indemnification language inserted relative to those signs that are either on or extend over the city sidewalk. So that's what the intent of the handout is. That's part of the sign ordinance. So that would require a public hearing as well. So I thought it might be a good idea to have the public hearing on both.
So that will be our
Same
goal,
time.
is to incorporate the rest of the signs into that same
Yeah,
liability.
at
Okay.
least the
Yep.
sandwich signs and the,
Overhangs,
Yeah,
the
the-
flag
right.
ones, I think, is that incorporated in that?
right,
Okay.
I think so by the definition. I think I called it awnings and,
Could be projecting signs too. I don't know how the ordinance addresses that.
we can make that modification if necessary. But I do recall language regarding awnings that they projected over it.
I think it's awnings, the sidewalk signs, and then those flags.
Any sign in any way projecting over the public
Yeah.
right of way.
Yeah.
I think, Jack, that could be a friendly amendment to the motion on the floor too, couldn't it? Simply make
Yeah,
it.
I think it could. I
and-
also just wanted to note, I mean, the indemnification language in the handout is essentially the same as it appears in the draft of the sidewalk. Looking over the sidewalk ordinance, I see in section 6, indemnification. Phrase at the end there, which shouldn't be there. That's my fault, basically, since I did this. So there should just be a period after sidewalk decal, and we'd strike surety. Add that provision. Excuse me.
Okay. Is that a question for Jack or Greg? Okay. Then I will look to make, do we have a motion on this one? I don't think so. We do? Oh, that's right. Bonnie asked me to repeat it, but we already had it by Jeff and Bill. Correct. Okay.
We are going to amend it to,
I'm gonna ask for that to be
Okay.
amended. Yep. So I'm gonna look to see if we can amend that motion to have all signs that project in the city's right of way as part of this public hearing. Will that be a friendly amendment accepted?
I'll make that.
Okay, Bill? Okay, perfect. So all signs will be part of this public hearing that project onto the city's right of way. So that'll keep it all pretty much unilaterally in the same boat, so to speak. So we don't have different rules for different signs. They'll all be in the same. Yes, Jeff?
I did talk to a couple of insurance people in town,
Mhm.
and they said that for the most part, one person said that they had never written out a policy before that it wouldn't have been included for the sidewalk signs. And the other individual that I talked to said that it was very easy to get in a rider policy. So it's not like it's going to be impossible to insure any of this. So I just wanted to check out with everybody to make sure that, city's liability would be kind of taken care of on it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I did do some checking on that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody else? All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Greg, do you have for information only?
Just wanted to note that, again, the Personnel and Finance Committee meets this Thursday to hopefully have a revised set of goals and progress report on our 2023 goals to present to council for action on April 15. We'll also be addressing the city manager's evaluation for the past year and as it would relate to any modification in pay for the current year. And again, regular meeting April 15 and the work session April 22.
All right, perfect. And then closed session. The city council reserves the right to enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.851E when deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reason require a closed session. Tonight, we will discuss the potential for redevelopment projects in the downtown area and possible city financial assistance to such projects, discuss possible city property acquisition as well. We do plan to come out of closed session and vote on this in open session. So anyone wishing to hang around to see the results of what we discussed in closed session are more than welcome to hang around. We will reopen the door and we will vote on that in public, but we will not be on the air for that.
And we'd anticipate that would be on the resolution that is already a public document and in tonight's packet.
So we will look for a motion to go into closed session. Thank you, Tim. Seconded by Scott.
Second.
Council discussion. Seeing none, this is a required roll call vote. Amanda.
Bonnie Shimelunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc, Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
It's a really good picture.
All right, motion carries. We are in closed session.